Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 22. Last episode, it was a blessing. It was a curse because it had to end. I loved the last episode. Highlight of the episode was, of course, the Toto moment with the necklace
locket?
opening up.
Yes,
Yeah, that was amazing. My older brother was looking for a gift for a Secret Santa gift for his coworker who likes Jujutsu Kaisen, and it had to be under like $10 or $20. And he only told me about it the day prior.
But if he had given him a little
bit of heads up, I would have tried to see if he was caught up, with what's airing now. And I thought the perfect gift would have been a locket with, Takada and Itadori in it. But
just a little more time, and we could have created that. His wildest dreams could have. That would have been
amazing. But going forward, I thought Mahito might be dying because of the great snowy send-off of last episode. Yes. But now Geto's here, and I don't know if that means he's going to, for some twisted turn reason, kill Mahito or save the day. Because at the moment, Mahito. I'm kind of feeling like May's probably dead if Geto's here. Definitely. And if that's the case, I don't know if that means Geto's tired or if a full-powered Geto's going to be up against Itadori and one-handed Toto, which does not sound great. In our discussion last episode, I brought up the idea that maybe Yuta can somehow appear, which would be great.
That would just be magic.
I don't know. I'm going to assume 25 episodes this season, and episode 22 is airing right now, so I don't really know what to do going forward to wrap the season up.
I can't even see how it's... The ending of last episode was something that came out of nowhere for me. Mm-hmm. I really was like, Mahito, done. End of this episode, he's done.
Yep.
And then that entrance, I was like, now I have no clue what's going to happen here.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Okay, that was Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 22. I am speechless because there are so many positive emotions running through my body, and I don't really know how to...
the different characters that we got in this episode,
put them into words.
It was like fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the best.
But it wasn't.
Fan fiction usually comes at the cost of the story.
It does, yes.
It does not in any fucking regard in terms of Jujutsu Kaisen. It is so perfect.
Imagine, this was like a leaked thing. Imagine that that Jujutsu Kaisen manga was only at a certain point before this arc, before
ends at
this
season
fight.
1.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it leaks that the writer, the person that created Jujutsu Kaisen, that was gonna, at some point, Choso was gonna realize that Itadori was his blood relative. You would have been like, that's not a real leak.
Like Toto in season 1, Choso has the revelation of being a brother to Itadori, which causes Choso to fight Geto, who isn't actually Geto, but in relation to the Kamo clan, whose brain was removed 150 years in the past.
And don't worry, Kamo's there too.
Yeah.
You would have been like, this leak is fake, no one believe it.
And then when everything else fails after the white-haired character Ume has connections with Sukuna, freezes everybody, the only person who can save them is Yuki. And then she breaks through to only once again ask Geto, what's
your type? You would have been like, this is not real. This is not a leak. This is just fan fiction.
In the beginning of the episode, Geto uses Mahito's dead fucking corpse as an attack used against fucking Miwa. What the
you'd
fuck?
Be like, this cast of characters here, we're just playing with random action figures that we found under the bed. This does not go.
This might be the best,
we're mixing Barbies and Brat dolls right now. They're not supposed to be in the same universe.
Start to end, right? Consistency. There's so many moments in anime that we've watched. One of the ones that is easy that I would assume many people hold in regards to one of the best episodes of anime ever is season 2 episode 17 of Demon Slayer. You know what I'm talking about if you've watched Demon Slayer. But I don't know if I've ever seen such a consistently top tier season of anime from start to finish. This entire season has been perfection.
In the same way that like season 2 of Demon Slayer was a chef's kiss in my opinion, season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, especially this what's happening right now. And honestly, thanks so much in tandem to both animators, storyboarders, but also the source material.
The writing in this is better.
The writing in this is so good. The source material, I wish I could read the manga. I wish I could see the paneling myself, because whatever the source material looks like for this, I am sure it is phenomenal.
I everything about it. Like the pacing this entire season has been phenomenal. The animation, of course, we can't compliment enough. One of the things that you pointed out, which is just another chef's kiss, is like during the action and the score and the music, the sound design of being able to hear the clothing like just rustling.
Especially with Choso and Geto's clothing.
Yep.
They have like baggier, sleeves that are bigger, and their pants are more baggy. Therefore, you're going to hear more of that sound. There's going to be more cloth that's going to catch the wind as they're moving. Okay. Therefore, you need to have more of a sound.
I can't believe it. Like I can't. I'm just sitting here trying to believe that this is real. Mm-hmm. This is the best season.
The music for this episode also did so many weird things. There were moments where what was on the screen and what was happening was discordant to what we were hearing. Like, they did not actually go. They were contradictory. Like, a very almost happy, uplifting sound as Itadori is running towards Mahito and Geto before Uzumaki, before he actually basically eats Mahito. Let's just say it like that for convenience here, for quickness.
Yeah.
As he's running toward them, there's, this very, positive music that's happening, and it's odd, it's discordant. And then later on, there's this actually discordant notes and music and things that sound when Choso and Geto start fighting. The notes that are in the music there's a certain note that's thrown in there that does not go. And it makes you start to feel uncomfortable, heightened, almost like your blood pressure is rising.
Yeah. So it's an evolution in placement of soundtracks that we've heard before. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna sound like an idiot, so apologies, but do 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 do. It's and then do 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 do. That entire track that's usually used in the past for Jujutsu Kaisen for an upbringing of an unsettling moment prior to any action happening has been used this episode in such an evolutionary degree during the Choso Geto fight that it's so unnerving. You're on the edge of your seat, and you're also a little bit nostalgic to this music, where you're feeling holy shit, Choso might die here because the song's playing, because what I've expected from the song and track is that by the end of it, it's something horrific that's to come. But it's being used to socially engineer my emotions throughout this episode. The roller coaster of it and what I expect might happen is so thrown out the window. I feel I have no expectation, and if I have an expectation, it's going to be wrong, and I'm so happy and glad about that.
So something interesting I want to say in terms of this episode with throwing in the Kyoto school characters here, who, honest to God, I did not think were going to make it at all.
Yeah.
For this, especially with the fact that Mekamaru had kind of finagled this way to keep them out of this fight because he didn't think they would survive. I really didn't think they would make it in time for any action, to be a part of any action, though we did speculate who we might want to see. Kama was one of the characters I actually said that I wanted to see fighting again. But it brings me back to the sister school event in season 1, where I think Toto was really the only... Toto and Mai were the only ones that I felt anything for, really got attached to through that event. I liked some of the character designs. Like, I really liked Miwa. Like, I liked the personality that was presented.
Miwa was asleep designs. For a lot of that.
But I feel like they were still at a distance for me. Like, I was like, okay, well, they're not our main cast. We're just getting thrown all these new characters. It kind of... I hadn't developed, like, strong care for them. And then through them just showing up, through even the episode where they hear from Mekamaru and they're on either a train or a plane, I would have to go back to really think about it. I think it was a train. Mm-hmm. I think you've convinced me it was a train. Mm-hmm. I felt so emotional for them through. I think Mekamaru really helped with that. But them showing up here, immediately, I'm like, woo! You know, like, to these characters that at first I was like, oh, you know, I hate when all these new characters are thrown at you, and what are you going to do with them? It reminds me to something you said, I think, before we even started the episode, or maybe it was during the intro, that was like, if we fall back here, does that mean that the next season we'd be creating a kind of new cast, a new force that is going to be up against the villains, a new cast of Jujutsu sorcerers? You know, what do we do now that Gojo's gone? And it made me think that, like, I normally hate, especially, like, to throw a bunch of new characters at someone at once. Yeah. And so the Sister School event, like, as a viewer, I was like, whoa, these are a lot of new characters to be introduced to. And I don't necessarily have feelings for them because I really love the main cast. I really love Nobara. I really love Fushiguro. Really love Itadori. You know, I'm just starting to know Panda and Maki. So, like, but now I haven't had these characters for this whole season. But I'm now feeling, like, even more emotional for them, as if I have been with them all of this season. Yeah. And I think Mekamaru really helps with that.
I also think that the hidden inventory arc helps with that. I think that, like, seeing whether it's different grades or just different, like, groups and classes together, I think it's a good way to just, like, show what the other school really is.
I think that this season has really opened the world up a little more. Like, it has reminded you of the scaling that curses and these fights are happening everywhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, Utah's not even, like, as far as we knew, wasn't even in Japan, right? Yeah. Because, I think it's just reminding me of the scale. Like, it's not just Itadori and Fushiguro and Nobara that are going off on these missions, you know, there's so many people involved in this across the whole country and other countries, other places involved. And I think that this season has definitely helped me with this, like, scaling and severity.
From season 1, I always loved Kamo. Like, I thought that his technique was super interesting and his fight with Fushiguro was really fucking cool. And what he was in terms of trying to help a bit with the Hanami situation. But, oh my god, I think that my favorite character in this show coming out of this episode is Choso, like, hands down. And I want to get into some, like, detail rather than start, like, saying everything we love, like some stuff that happened this episode. Now, I assume, before I say this, you're going to disagree with me. I think that the idea of Choso actually being related to Itadori is a conspiracy theory, not true. And it's more trying to give that he is a brother in the same way Toto is. That being said, even though that I'm saying that that's what it's telling me to give, I think that we can discuss the possibility and conspiracy of what if that there's more to that and they actually are related, because that is definitely a possibility, and that would mean that in another body, in another brain, Kamo Noritoshi was the father of Itadori. But off of what I just said, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts at the moment is that it has to be real, because it's such I think it's because it scratches an itch, and that itch is the family of Itadori. Where does he come from in terms of his parents? You know, we've been wondering, especially recently, are we going to actually ever get an explanation to that? And is it prominent? Is it important to the plot? And we have been feeling like it actually needed to be at this point. And it was like either it's never going to be touched on and it was never important, or there is an actual really important to the plot answer for
that
it.
It doesn't necessarily need to be brought up now, though. Like, we talked about that.
No, it doesn't need to be brought up now.
I think that, like, it could be,
but
and it's interesting.
Are you going to tease it and it not be real?
When did they tease it?
They're teasing it here with saying that Itadori is blood related to Choso.
Yeah, but that's just Choso's reasoning.
Yes,
in the same way then they would have teased it in season 1 when Todo referred to Itadori as a sibling.
But we knew what that meant. See, Choso's saying blood related. He's saying like Toto's like, you're my brother, but like we knew how to take that. But when you're actually specifying blood related,
yeah, which
I think that takes on more serious meaning.
Which I think is the reason I am very intrigued to talk about that being like a theory that they're actually related. But given season 1 and season 2 of Itadori and what this power he seemingly has, I think that narratively there is evidence to say that this is Choso just trying to make sense of what his feeling is. Because Todo, there is no arguing that he believes and feels that connection to Itadori to the point of having his picture in a locket and chasing him across rooftops. Yeah. He says brother, best friend. Yeah. And I think that in that same connection of soul or being, Choso has that, and then in his mind, the closest feeling that he can relate to that is that of his brothers and how close he felt to them. Therefore, Itadori has to be a brother of his. Oh, this guy is in front of us and my father potentially. That must mean Itadori's my brother through him, rather than acknowledging the fact that Choso has no idea of that Itadori might have something special about him that is causing these feelings to be magically appearing. Mm-hmm. Now, that leads me to the conclusion of this is Choso just trying to make sense of it. This is something more to do with Itadori's ability. But I do think that there is a very interesting and decent chance that there is a blood relation there. There's a decent
argument that can be made here because of the fact that we never get an actual explanation of Itadori's parents.
Agreed. Plus, it would be quite an interesting turn of events if somehow Itadori ended up being the vessel of Sukuna, who's connected to Komo, or who's connected to Uraume, who is connected to Komo Noritoshi. Mm-hmm. I think that would definitely be interesting, but I don't think it needs to be. You know?
It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
But now that they're putting it out there as something to be thinking about in your head, now I'm like, I kind of like it. I kind of like what's happening here.
But then I'm going back and forth. Like, is it too obvious then?
Too obvious?
Yeah. Like, if
you wouldn't have guessed it without this episode.
Correct.
So then it's not obvious.
It's obvious because of how Choso said it out loud.
Well, of course something's obvious when someone says it out loud.
Yeah.
Because they've said it out loud and now you're thinking about it and now you know it. But it's not actually obvious if you never thought about it before a character in the show says it to you.
I'm saying, like, obvious, like, going forward if that's the truth. Like, now that that's been said out loud.
But doesn't that feel better if something makes sense to you once it's said out loud? Like, would you rather a surprise or like a twist be like so unfounded that it doesn't actually
I'm not
go
saying
with the
that.
source material?
I'm saying that after this interaction happened, Panda reminded us, the audience, and Itadori of the Todo interaction. And now
but that was funny. That was more like,
but it's also, it's based in truth though. That's a direct comparison. That you cannot, like, it's impossible to argue that, like, it's the same thing, right? And it seemed like it was in, I don't know. I think that it is a possible theory, but
you're trying to not maybe go to head over heels with it being like
I'm more saying that, like, I think both of us believe both of the things that are that could be true, but where I am 70% it's like a similar thing that happened to Todo and Choso making sense of it, and 30%, oh my god, there's a chance that Itadori and Choso are actually blood related and Itadori's father is Komo Noritoshi. You are swapped, that 70-30.
But like that fits our personalities. You're a lot more level-headed and maybe even cautiously skeptical, and I am a lot more like gullible. So
I don't know.
Like rose-colored glasses.
One of the things that makes me maybe 10% of that 30% of wanting that blood relation is just because of how fucking awesome. He's so cool. Choso's amazing.
We love Choso. I mean, come on. How just still fan fiction, fan service it is to give us a character like Choso, but then be like, he's a villain character. You're not supposed to root for him. And I'm like, but I kind of want to root for him because blood manipulation is so freaking cool. And his character design is like peak character design. And now you're going to tell me that he could be like somewhat of an ally character, or at least not like more antagonist, not actually like
okay. That's a great point to bring up. Does Choso survive this season?
Probably not. No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because I think especially because he says Itadori's like, "Are you an ally?" And he's like, "No." I'm your older brother. And I think because he doesn't identify as an ally to their cause, that would be a drop in the bucket of the evidence bucket that he would not survive, just because I feel like if he said he's an ally, then there's more of like a joining hands all together for this. But there's something a lot sadder about this is his one reason for fighting here isn't to save the world, but it's for the singular person that is his little brother in his mind that he's trying to protect, which is a drop in the bucket that he would sacrifice his life here. I think he said that he was like not scared to die or something.
I want to know like a weird feeling I have about this Itadori ability. Like for a second, let's just assume that the blood relation shit is bullshit and it's just whatever Itadori did to Todo, but on the next level.
I'll try to get that out of my head.
Doesn't it give you Toji's seance? Like, you know how Toji's seance ability was like, you are going to be fighting the strongest in front of you to such a degree that the only way to stop that, like, thought in the back of your mind was for him to kill himself in that iteration in front of Fushiguro. Like, the idea of being so brainwashed or convinced that Itadori is your brother, that you are actively not thinking about how he killed your other two brothers, and it's motivating you to such a degree.
But Choso could also be the type of character or personality that it's like, those brothers are already dead, here's one that's in front of him that's still alive.
That's true.
And so, that's fair. You're prioritizing there. You're like, yeah, he might have done some wrong, but the blood relation doesn't lie. Yeah. And he's still alive.
Yeah. God, fucking awesome character. I love it.
So what do you... Okay, so we need to talk about a few other things that happened in this episode.
Miwa's a fucking fantastic character.
Best imagery in this episode, other than just I love watching Choso fight, and there was some really cool things with his fight. The best, I would say, actual, like, visuals that happened. You just pulled it up. I'm gonna wave just in case whoever's editing this
hopefully we can get in the discussion.
Put this on here. This is the best frame
I love
in
this
the
frame
entire
so much.
episode. This frame is a work of art. It is a masterpiece. I am in love with it.
I felt like I knew exactly what you were talking about when you were bringing it up. Don't you kind of wish that we had like a full poster that was just like generated, we could see around it, like just zoomed out a little bit, maybe a full body even of Miwa, but with this level of detail, it could be like an amazing poster. This was a fantastic shot of Miwa. The lighting's great, the color's phenomenal, everything's just perfect about it.
This shot has to be in the manga.
Directly,
I feel like it has to be a panel in the manga. And with the hands from like that you can see in the background, so like you don't even really notice them because they're almost this part of this spiraling energy that's happening, and your focus is on the foreground of the two characters that are facing each other, that you don't even realize the hands, but as you start like looking, you're seeing the hands, and it's just so
good. What it does, like the way that they're able to convey so many amazing like compositions or like shots like this, right? Like the storyboarding's impeccable. This makes me believe she could have died here.
Oh,
like
100%.
that's what it, right?
You feel the weight of it. Whole, like, I would say it was even 5 seconds. I don't know how long this event actually lasted in terms of time, but we knew that if someone didn't get her out of there, she was dead. And,
like, the way that when you kill a character, like, if it's badly drawn or, like, it's in the distance, you're like, okay, that character's probably going to be okay. But if you get a close-up of the character right in front of something, and it's drawn in a very, like, artistic, like, empathetic way.
It's also, like, the time frozen feeling. Like, you are life flashing before your eyes, split second.
Yep.
And then we come out, we see these, like, slices of white. So good.
So
and
awesome.
We see that multiple characters, like, dove for her.
Mm-hmm.
We see here that 3 characters dove to her defense and to rescue her. But, okay. Kusakabe, he's in favor of Itadori's execution.
I get it.
That's the setup for the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
How would he feel now that... Okay, so does Itadori being blood-related possibly to Kamo Noritoshi from 150 years ago, is that reason to be more in favor of execution, or reason to be like, maybe we need him alive if Gojo is sealed?
I don't think that has anything to do with it. I don't think it changes the goalpost at all. But I do think that the idea of Yuji being executed, being brought up narratively is really important here.
Why I brought it up as does it change anything is because it was given to us before the action. It was because you have to know that, like, obviously we know as people that you might think something very strongly and you'd think there'd be no evidence, no reason, no event that would sway your opinions.
Yeah.
Until, we see a bunch of action.
Mm-hmm.
We see a bunch of action in this episode. A bunch of action is still going to be happening after this episode. I'm trying to speculate if there is anything that could happen here in that action that would change his opinion. Because he also has that opinion before he ever interacts with Itadori himself.
I think that the only shot that it changes something is if next episode there's more... I'm probably getting this person's name wrong every time I say it. If Uraume, throughout the fight with Yuki, is able to get more exposition about their relationship to Sukuna, and that could somehow breed a change, like a further importance of Itadori being alive. Like, at the moment, I hate saying this, you'd want to kill Itadori, right? Like, everything's going to such shit.
Yeah, everything. But see, okay, if I was in universe, I'd be like, everything's going to such shit. I think I would be in the opinion of keeping him alive because everything's already going to such shit.
And it's a gamble you would have to make.
It's a gamble you have to make at this point. You have no cards other than Itadori, really, that is like he is like next level. I mean, I guess Yuta's still there in terms of really strong.
Yeah.
And Fushiguro. But like, Itadori's so wrapped up in this because of Sukuna that he's a gamble that I feel like if the world is going to shit, you have to take.
I don't know though. Like, I'm going back and forth because it's like, okay, you get away from this. Like, imagine right now, everybody gets teleported away, and you're trying to reconvene, and you're like, okay, Sukuna took over Itadori again. This is the devastation that he caused. We have 2 main people we're fighting against, Uraume, and then what is Geto, what is Kamo. And we have Yuki on our side. We have Yuta, a way that we can call for help. We can regroup with the people we have in front of us now. We might be able to take down 2 people without Itadori. But if we try to take down those 2 people with him, Itadori can be converted, so then we're facing 3 people, and one of those people are Sukuna.
I just don't feel like... I feel like with the who's here, this fight in this episode definitely doesn't give you hope that if Itadori wasn't here, that who is here would win.
Yeah.
Against Uraume, and which I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Obviously pronunciation can... I could be wrong about pronunciation for different things. Not perfect on that. But having those two characters that we're fighting here, this ice technique, scary, knowing that what's inside of Getzo has been basically wreaking havoc and transferring their body for so long and creating things like Choso. And swallowing Mahito the way that he did, terrifying. And I feel like Itadori is needed here. It is needed against these two to actually be a part of winning.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a teamwork thing, I think he needs to be a part of it, because I don't think who's alive right now, who's here right now, could do it without him. Even though we're getting Yuki here, and I think Yuki's gonna do a great job, but
I'm trying to I'm still so hung up on the theory that Itadori could be related to Noritoshi, because I can't tell. This is because of the nature of Jujutsu Kaisen, I can't tell if they do something like the idea of, oh, okay, it just so happens that the descendant of Noritoshi would be in a situation that was not at all planned, where he's given the opportunity to eat a Sukuna finger. Granted, it might make more sense why he's able to control it better, but and that's not what I'm saying. It's just more like I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have no clue.
I have so many question marks.
I also do.
Because then I'm like, oh, but it wasn't this. It was next to the school. I don't know.
Was he purposefully sent to that school?
His grandfather was alluding to telling him something about his parents, and when I'm reading way too much into this, but when that comes off as dialogue, I'm assuming his parents are going to be a pair, and what was to be said is more about them as a pair rather than your mother saved you after realizing that you were born from a brain guy. You know? I don't know.
Born from a brain guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder but that would mirror kind of Kamo's upbringing. Remember this is a deep cut, but there was a moment on home plate between Itadori and Kamo in the baseball episode of the first season, and Kamo asking Itadori about his reason for fighting, when Kamo's thinking about his upbringing and how his mom was called a concubine whore or something like that.
Was he named purposefully as the stain of the Kamo clan because of who his mom was?
That I forget. I don't. Because they still treated him well, so I wouldn't imagine.
But it's interesting that he would have been named after the stain on that clan. That inherently comes with bad energy, or that you are not wanted, or that you are a negative to this family.
Yeah. Well, okay, one thing's for sure, Kamo's related to Choso, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
In a fucked up way. I want to go back to that real quick. The idea of
they had to have the comedy element of them saying Kamo Noritoshi out loud, and then Kamo pointing at himself being like, me?
Yeah.
They had to have that.
But where Choso is trying to decide who Yuji is, wasn't there a sequence where you could see his parents?
Yeah, you saw his mom, you see the cursed spirit, and then someone who put his blood into the mix. Great question. It was so quick that I don't think you'd be able to find it in just looking at the little thumbnails, because it was split second quick.
It was during the interaction with Geto, I thought, and upon realization who Geto is, I thought. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we could find it easily. I think it was before he really fights.
You think?
I think so.
At any point later during the fight, after that first realization, did he say anything? When did the rest of the crowd realize that Kamo was who Kamo is.
After he said the name out loud.
And where was that?
I think more towards the beginning of before fighting. Like upon Choso arriving on the scene. So right after saving Miwa, it would have been around there.
Outlandish barriers, call me whatever you like.
Yeah, call me whatever you like. Because that's him saying I go by many names, right?
So it'd be before this.
It's before
yes,
that.
Here we go.
Okay. The one who toyed with my mother.
Yeah. The man who... Okay, going back to the beginning of it.
Yes.
My mother. The cursed spirit that impregnated my mother. And the man who mixed his blood into the affair. The one who toyed with my mother. Yeah. The idea of the cursed spirit who impregnated my mother. It kind of
looks like Sukuna and
yeah.
It's all fuzzy.
I wonder if that's anything. Like into the who the cursed spirit was.
They're just like honestly, Kamo Noritoshi and Sukuna have just been going and impregnating women together for years, and that's what they've been doing.
They said that he would be over 150 years old.
That's not that long in comparison to Sukuna.
Yeah, exactly.
He just wanted to be involved. He was like, Sukuna's pretty cool, and I want to be related somehow.
But one thing that I have to say is that they have done a flawless job tearing up where we are in terms of power. Because, like, through the characters that were setting a standard of, you know, Hanami, Mahito, Jogo, like, the next step up after their death has been revealed in the sense of being able to use reverse curse technique, which was alluded to in the shown in the hidden inventory arc of like the pinnacle of strength.
Yep.
We're at a level that supersedes so much. I think Yuta could use it, but and Gojo, but that's it really. I wonder how powerful Yuki is. I feel like
since Yuki's coming in here and it's an entrance, Yuki has to do something great for this fight. That is what I'm going to guess here.
I cannot believe she showed up. I thought that there was more of a chance that Yuta did. And I'm so happy that she showed up.
Though I would like to see Yuta again.
I would also like to see Yuta.
But the amount of excitement that I felt during this episode is unmatched. I was just like cheering the entire time. Everything was so good.
It's so much like Todo.
If only Todo was here.
So does that mean Yuki is Itadori's like aunt mentor or like a mentor, like a, I don't know, like if you're brothers with Todo and Todo's mentor is different than yours, there's like some kinship there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. That's why she's introduced here, is because Kusakabe is against Itadori. I feel like Utsuhime, because of her dynamic with Gojo, would be on board with not killing Itadori. And so now everyone's going to stack up against Kusakabe now, and Yuki's going to be on board with keeping Itadori alive.
Yuki's going to be like, I've heard so much about you. And it's
Todo writes letters.
Yeah.
like cute letters that like the paper smells, and he like
Yuki Sensei
signs it like love Todo.
I have met my brother today. The entire hierarchy of my life has changed.
Guess what? This is his type of woman.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh my god, dude.
You would love him. I hope you can meet him someday.
Dude, like, no, all jokes aside, the idea of asking what kind of woman your type is how you figure out if Kamo Noritoshi has infected your brain or not. Because if you are at one point in your life answer Jennifer Lawrence is my type of woman, and then the next time you answer you're like giving like an answer that's like Betty White or something, then it's gonna be like, whoa, this is from a different a different time period or a different preference of woman, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
White.
Why did you pick Betty White?
I am loving Jujutsu Kaisen.
Me too.
Oh, I wanted to bring up one more thing because I wrote down the timestamp. This is one of my favorite moments of the episode.
Well, it must be great if you wrote down a timestamp for it.
1718, when the fucking big cinder block looking Mario piece of shit was like thrown from Geto, or thrown at Geto, and it was coming towards him. When Geto sliced it, Choso sliced it, and then seeing how it fell, like, gave so much weight. It was so cool.
And then I love that as we pan out on the pillar, it literally turns into nothing. Yeah. You don't even get, and I'm like, wait, what? It just evaporated. It just disappeared. It does not exist in this reality. And it fits with the idea that Itadori kept feeling like he was falling into the catfish mouth, but then he'd end up landing back on the original ground and not actually, like, down feet into the earth. Like, it fits into the fact that it can literally just, he can control it. There's options to it. And that is so interesting. And just another important thing to bring up. He knew what Geto's techniques and abilities were as he has been in this body, but he was never interested in using that, like, ultimate, that Uzumaki, because it didn't have a quantity of options, and he really liked the options. It
almost seemed like a waste.
It seemed like a waste. And then he realized, just use it with a really strong curse, and then it's not a waste.
Yeah. I want to get, like, really ripped by next Halloween and grow my hair out a bit and try to do a Choso cosplay.
Yes.
I think it looked pretty ridiculous in terms of hair, but no. I love Choso.
I'm a fan.
With everything I have. He's so fucking cool. And you know what's great too? It's like, I think I'd still feel the same amount of Choso appreciation as I do now, but one of our favorite episodes of the season was the fight versus Choso.
Red Scale.
Yep. God,
it's the only episode that I remember the name. Like, I can, like,
Metamorphosis,
iconically.
part 1, part 2.
Yeah, I totally, Metamorphosis, yep. Mm-hmm. So I totally remembered that.
How's this one? Alright, you good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.